Distinguished co-chairs, excellencies and colleagues, I deliver this statement on behalf of G4, a reform-oriented group consisting of Brazil, Germany, Japan and my own country, India. At the outset, I'd like to congratulate the co-chairs, Ambassador Tariq of Kuwait and Ambassador Lise of the Netherlands, on their appointment to this important position. The group also expresses its sincere appreciation to them for convening the first IGN meeting during the current session. The context of today's meeting is very significant. The world is going through unprecedented times. Challenges of diverse nature are emerging on an almost everyday basis. The Universal Multilateral Organization, the United Nations, is no exception either. The credibility and efficacy of the organization are being called to question. The limitations of the UN in meaningfully addressing raging conflicts across the globe are a driving reason for this phenomenon, although it's a part of much wider power dynamics. Co-chairs, the UN was founded 80 years ago with the hope of maintaining and sustaining peace for humanity. The foundational principle of this organization was clear: maintenance of international peace and security. As a principal organ, the United Nations Security Council was entrusted with this critical responsibility. Therefore, the UN's shortcomings in terms of delivering on this vital function are inherently linked to the lack of effectiveness of the Security Council. Against this backdrop, the G4 would like to make the following points. First, the need for reforming the UN Security Council is getting more pronounced by the day. Further delays in implementing timely reforms would result in more human suffering and misery. The ongoing conflicts come at a heavy cost. Countless innocent lives are lost on a daily basis. We do not have the luxury of time to engage in cycles of meetings that are devoid of outcomes. We must collectively make every moment count. Second, the G4 has been consistent and categorical about the essential ingredients for an outcome-centric process. Negotiations on the basis of a text which stipulate clearly laid out milestones and timelines are central to this. The G4 remains committed to working towards a consolidated model, as this could be the precursor for text-based negotiations. Third, the G4's advocacy clearly outlined its vision for a reformed UN Security Council. The size must be increased from the present 15 to 25 or 26 seats. The increase must entail expansion in both permanent and non-permanent categories. Fourth, a reflection of contemporary geopolitical realities is a fundamental principle driving the G4 model. Therefore, a reformed UN Security Council must have balanced geographic representation. The means for achieving this is by enhancing the presence of unrepresented and underrepresented regions. Let me elaborate. There must be 6 new permanent members, 2 from the African region, 2 from the Asia-Pacific, 1 from GRULAC, and 1 from WIOG, and 4 or 5 additional non-permanent members, 1 or 2 from Africa, 1 from Asia-Pacific, and 1 each from GRULAC and the EEG. Fifth, our model is aligned with addressing the gross lack of appropriate representation of the Global South on the Security Council. It's based on established norms in the UN. We subscribe to giving due consideration to the case of SIDS for their continued and adequate representation in the non-permanent category. Proposals to introduce new parameters, such as religious affiliation, run counter to established UN practice and add considerable complexity to an already difficult discussion. Sixth, our support for an unrepresented and underrepresented regions is clear and firm. G4 has specified its formula to address the historical injustices against Africa. This is distinct from general calls without specifics and references to their presence in the permanent category in a reformed UN Security Council. As we have said in the past, one cannot say they support addressing such injustices and at the same time oppose the expansion in the permanent category. We will tackle the problem for real if and only if states from unrepresented regions are elected for permanent seats. Finally, it is the earnest wish of G4 to see tangible progress during the current session. For decades, status quos have been posing hurdles and impeding forward movement. In so doing, they contribute to the failure of the Security Council that, as I have stated earlier, help fuel serious questioning of the legitimacy and credibility of this organization. Groups and member states inclined on achieving real reforms need to come together and resist these efforts. I thank you, co-chairs.